Hello, everyone. Welcome to Making an Investment, Today's Parents for Tomorrow's Children. And today we'd like to invest in our children by letting them know that they are a masterpiece and by speaking that into their lives. And we do that, sometimes by positively lifting them up, by saying words of encouragement into them, yes. But just want to remind you today, once again, how important it is to start early in doing this. And I have a small story to share with you, very briefly. My daughter was 3 years old at the time, and we went to a family's home for a sleepover. And she noticed that her skin complexion was same as theirs. And I never thought that at the age of 3 that she would actually take notice of this difference in our family, that her skin tone was a little bit darker than ours. Didn't think at the age of 3 that she was actually even thinking about that. And it brought our attention to this. And not that we were concerned, but what it did was it propelled us to now begin to speak words of life to her in where it concerned her the most. And in this area was concerning to her, even though it wasn't a concern to us, because we love her just the way she is, I should say. And so therefore, whether she was the same complexion as us or a little darker, or we love her just the way she is. But she needs to know that she is loved and will be loved just the way she is. And so we made up names for each of our complexion. And we talk about the beauty and the uniqueness of each and every one of us in our family. And we also share that we are all masterpiece created by the master artist. And how every painting is different. When an artist makes a painting, they don't look like anyone else's. And how each and every one of us is different, and we have differences, and we have some parts of us that are the same, and we share those when we talk. And we also talk about the uniqueness and what makes them so important to us and important as an individual, and the gifts that they have and what makes them so special and so unique. And this is why you were created, because no one else does this the way that you do. And there's no other person in the world that looks exactly like you and that pours their juice this way or puts on their coat this way. And so it's those little things every day that we want to bring into realization for our children. And sometimes, honestly, like what I'm sharing with you, they are noticing this because there's a stage that our children go through, and they come into that self-awareness, and they start recognizing similarities and differences between their siblings, between their family members, between their friends, and people around them. And so when they come into the stage, we want to know and let them know that they are special, that they are a masterpiece. And so we want to speak into them every day how smart they are. We want to speak how beautiful they are. We want to speak how intelligent they are. We want to speak how they do a wonderful job sharing. We want to continue to do that. And it's easy for us to do that when they're infants and when they're little and they're not talking back. And when easy for us also when they're not displaying any negative behavior. When they're found the rules at school, when they're found the rules at home, it's easy for us to speak like that into our children. But what about when we get a report card that's not up to our standards? When we get a notice from the teacher, an email saying that your child is, their hands are not on their own body, saying that they're not staying focused, they're not on task, they're distracting, they're disrupting other students from learning, that they're not staying focused, they're not getting their work done. Do we still continue to do this? And I have to honestly say sometimes that those thoughts and being able to still continue to do that and to speak life and to remind them that they are a masterpiece, it goes out the window because of the circumstance at hand, because we're dealing with the negative and we're dealing with what they're going through and what people are saying about them, that we start focusing on that and forgetting to continue to still speak life. And so even in the times when we're not seeing the fruits and the results of what we keep saying and what we keep pouring and how we keep watering, and we keep watering words of positive in them, and we keep watering that they're beautiful and that they're smart and their homework doesn't display that, we still have to remember to continue to speak it, because eventually one day we will see it. We will. But we have to believe it as parents. We do. We have to believe it as parents. We have to believe it like our life depends on it, because their life depends on it, and their upbringing depends on it, and the outcome of where they will go depends on it. And so we have to continue as parents to do that. And so even in those moments when we're tired, because I get tired too, and we're frustrated, and we're tired of hearing all the negatives about our children, whether it comes from their classmates or even from the school or for the sitter. Or there's some days, I have to honestly say, that we get tired of hearing the negatives, about our children. And these are the times that we have to press and we have to push and we have to go deep within us as parents and find that little positive place and look at the glass half full instead of half empty, and look at all the possibilities in the midst of disappointment, and still be able to speak life to our children, still be able to remind them of who they are. And honestly, we have to remind ourselves of who we are. We have to know that we are created as a masterpiece as well. That there in us, there are so much unique gifts. There's a special thing and a specialness about each and every one of us as parents that we can impart to our children and leave a lasting impression on. We have to know that about ourselves as parents, whether you're mom or dad or a supporting adult or a guardian. We have to believe that about us. And it is honestly a struggle to speak that into someone else if we don't believe that about ourselves. And so sometimes in the parenting process, we have to also believe that within us first, in order for us to be able to speak that into someone else. And so I want to encourage you today to remember that you are a masterpiece created by the master artist. And you are unique, and you have special gifts and talents that you were created with. And even though you don't recognize them, other people recognize them around you. And so we want to also start recognizing that in our children today and continue to speak it to them today. And so therefore, even when they're surrounded by people that don't look like them, that don't have the same quality hair and the same texture and the same curl pattern, that they're still beautiful. Now, the outcome, like I was sharing with you of the story about my daughter. So my daughter is now 7. And the outcome to that, from the years from when this took place, when she was 3, and just constantly telling her of how beautiful her hair is, how long and soft, and because she didn't like her fuzzy hair at first, but just keep sharing that with her, and her skin, and just her as an individual, and how smart she is, and how warm her hugs are, and that we just love when she embraces us. From saying it to her all the time, and now that she's in the stage where she's losing all her baby teeth, and she's now having like her adult teeth, and as parents, that when our children start changing teeth, the 2 front ones, the top and the bottom ones, just looks extremely big in their mouth. And because their face is still the same size, their body's still the same size, and now they have like these 2 big bunny rabbit teeth. But lo and behold, she didn't see that. She saw her teeth, and she says, I love my adult teeth. I love my grown-up teeth, and I love the gap in my teeth, and I like me with this gap. And I was really surprised to hear that. You know why? Because for the longest, I had the same gap in my teeth. And I didn't think it was the most beautiful thing. I didn't think it was attractive. And so for most of my school-age years, I wouldn't smile with my mouth open in a picture because I didn't like that. I didn't like the way my teeth look. But to hear my 7-year-old just love on herself when she looks in the mirror, I knew that that came from a place that was not there before and did not just come out of nowhere, but it came from planting that seed early on in her life, to where now that she comes into that almost tween years and she starts looking at herself and comparing herself and her strengths and her weaknesses with her peers and her classmates and other siblings and family members around her, that she's starting to just love just the way she's made and just the way she's created. And I'm so thankful of that. And so this is why I wanted to take the time to encourage you that if you haven't been doing it, continue and go ahead and do it. And you might not see the outcomes right away. We're talking 4 years ago. But it's all worth it. So these children can know who they are. They can know that they have special gifts. They are created with unique, special gifts. And that's what sets them apart from their friends and from their siblings. And they have strength just like everybody else. And for them to notice it, to recognize it, to appreciate it, and to use it to best of their ability. And not look at their weakness. And not look at themselves as just being false and wanting to be somebody else that they weren't created to be. But today, continue to speak those words to them. Continue to tell them how beautiful they are, how strong they are, how patient they are, how supporting they are, and how smart they are. And say it to them and let them repeat it. Let them hear themselves say it. I am beautiful. I am smart. I am important. I'm a masterpiece. Let them hear it. So that way, when they hear negative things that, someone might say about them, because honestly, kids are kids. And sometimes they do say mean things. And sometimes it's for different reasons. Sometimes they just say it to get a reaction. Sometimes they say it to get attention. And so therefore, even when they say or hear these things and people say these things about them, they will be confident, say, no, that's not who I am. This is who I am. And they'll be confident in that and accept it, accept their differences, and be confident in accepting their differences. So go ahead, speak life today. Remember that you're a masterpiece, and so is your child.